Hello and welcome back to Big Nostalgia. I am haddowinc.
And I am Vicstar.
And this is the show where we take the games that we played in our childhood. We look at the programming, we look at the designs. What was left on the cutting room floor? What changed in development? How did development happen? These are the questions we ask, and then we see if we can answer them. And that's the premise of the show, I guess. This week, we are looking at a game called Yoshi's Story, which, until I started doing the research for this video, I thought it was just called Yoshi's Story without the apostrophe and the S. No idea why. Always knew it was called Yoshi's Island.
Yeah, for some reason I thought you were going to say, like, I knew you were doing Yoshi's Story, but I always thought it was called Yoshi's Island in a way. But that's something else, isn't it?
Yoshi's Island is the game on the SNES.
Yeah.
Was the precursor to this game.
Okay.
And in fact, you're leading me into the first bit of my information very well. It's
Thank you.
It's as if we practiced when we both know we didn't. But this game was under development as a working title of Yoshi's Island 64.
Oh, okay.
Carrying in our series of games where they were under development of franchise name plus 64 at the end. The game was, like our game last week, Pokemon Stadium, this game was also in development originally for the Nintendo 64 disk drive system, but when that system failed to take off, it was moved from floppy disk onto cartridge, and that's how it was released eventually.
They had really good intentions for that extension to the Nintendo 64, because there was a lot of critique, wasn't there, that they were using cartridges instead of the more popular disc format, but I just don't think they had the technology to deal with it at that time.
And also it must have been quite expensive to buy another piece of hardware
To put on top of that.
And also,
Yeah.
That wasn't even Nintendo using discs and getting with the times. They were using floppy disks. If anything, they were going backwards.
Cartridges are too chunky. Let's go with the times with the young'uns. Let's go floppy.
Yeah, so anyway, this game was directed by Hideki Kono. So he'd just previously finished his work on Mario Kart 64, which we talked about last year. And it was produced by Takashi Tezuka in what, from looking at his work history, appears to be his first producer role, as previously he'd had a range of supervisory or director roles across Mario and Zelda, but this is his first one as a producer. This game's notable in that it was they decided on the art style, and based on that they decided to make it a 2D platformer as well, because this was in the days when everyone was trying to prove that 3D gaming could be a thing. And this was released in the end of '97 in Japan, and in the first half of 1998 everywhere else.
I think it was a good move for them. For if you think of like the patterns and the design premise, it makes sense that it was a 2D rather than 3D.
And also, Yoshi's mechanics, kind of like the flutter jump and all of that, and like his tongue to eat things. I think that would have been possibly awkward in 3 dimensions.
No, I can see that. And just because everyone else is going 3D doesn't mean you have to. I mean, we've seen Yoshi now in a 3D format in a lot of other like Mario games, and it just, with the N64's like hard drive and stuff like that, I'm not sure it would have been the best medium to really portray Yoshi.
Yeah. But Mum, all the other games are going 3D. Well, if all the other games went and jumped off that cliff in the background, which we currently can't reach because we're 2D, would you do it as well?
Mum.
Mum. So anyway, it's one of the, I guess, potentially one of the first Nintendo games to be given the denotion of being 2.5D, because it was 3D objects, but it was restricted to a 2D space. It was, so this story, again, of this Yoshi game.
Which of course was in the title, so it better have a good story.
The story of Yoshi's story.
Haha.
The story of the Yoshis that are in Yoshi's story. Sorry, I could keep on going with that all day. Is that the Yoshis were living on Yoshi's Island. And they're all just super duper happy because they have the super happy tree.
Obviously.
But Baby Bowser becomes envious that they're happy, and transforms the entire island, apparently including himself, into a storybook, and then steals the super happy tree.
Okay.
And I remember this wording from the games, but I found this online. It was further weakening the Yoshis and making them fall to gloom, which I think is the kid language of they all died.
And it got really super depressed.
Yeah, because you got the 6 eggs that survived, which again implies that the rest were all gone, sadly. And these 6 new Yoshis came into the world and they knew something was amiss, so they went off to rescue the super happy tree from Baby Bowser by going through the 6 worlds on the island. And these 6 worlds are represented by the 6 pages in the book. And at the end, obviously, is Baby Bowser's castle, where they have to fight him to get the super happy tree back.
So quite a simple premise, but I mean, literally the title is the story, like Yoshi's Story. Here's a book, read it.
Yeah, and also it's subtext is just not a thing that exists in this game. It's called the super happy tree because it makes them super happy.
And when it's taken away, they get like super sad. It's like, yeah.
So the colours, the 6 colours that you get in this game, do you want to give them a guess?
Green. Green, blue, yellow.
Mm-hmm.
What? Yeah?
Green, blue, yellow.
Yeah. Pink,
Yep.
orange.
Nope.
Nope. Purple.
Nope.
I'm not just going to go through black and white.
Those were unlockable.
Ah, right. I'm missing 2 colours.
You haven't
red?
said a really obvious colour.
Hmm?
You haven't said a very obvious colour.
Red.
Yep. And I'm not sure if you'll get the last one.
Hold on. I've said green, haven't I?
You've said green.
Okay, what's the last one?
Light blue.
Oh.
I've also accepted cyan.
Oh God. I've already said blue, so I would have thought I was covered with blue.
That's why I didn't think you were going to... It's not because... Obviously, you're very adept with your colours, Vicky. I don't doubt that there's any colour you don't know. It's more... You'd have probably just
Thank you. I'm so glad.
You probably wouldn't have thought to add light or dark onto any of them. But it's interesting that you guessed orange and purple, because orange and purple Yoshis appear in the cutscenes, and I remember seeing rumours when we were kids, I don't know if you remember, that the orange and purple ones, like the black and white, could be unlocked. But it turns out that they were actually planned for the game, but they were left on the cutting room floor.
Aww.
And they went with black and white instead, which were unlocked by finding them in the levels. But I think I remember one rumour was just like, to get the orange Yoshi, sometimes referred to as the brown Yoshi.
Yeah, because of the colour sort of tone of it.
Yeah. I think one of the rumours was like you had to collect every single coin in every level in a run, or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It was that kind of,
Weird.
school ground rumours, like the ones that said like you could unlock Luigi in Mario 64, or that like you could unlock Master Hand in Smash Bros. Like those real childhood ones where your friend would say, "Oh, I've unlocked it," and you're like, "Oh, really?"
And you're just like, actually, no.
So the other characters that appear in this game, kind of the supporting cast, you've got Poochie the dog.
Yep.
Who helps players to find secrets, and you used to have to like follow your nose for some of them as well.
Yeah, he was quite a funny character.
You've got Miss Warp, which was like the I always thought it was like Humpty Dumpty, because it was like the little egg thing.
Yeah.
It was asleep, and when you jumped on its head, it started doing jumping jacks. And there's 4 of those in a level, and like jumping off the head of number 1, if you'd woken up number 2, would warp you.
Yes,
throughout the
I remember
stage.
those. They're weird.
They were very strange.
Hmm.
Do you remember the elephant creatures that used to stop you with a stop sign?
Yeah, they were annoying.
So that one, an incredibly deep cut reference for a children's game. They were called the pachyderm.
Really?
So the pachyderm is a word that's no longer actually used in biology anymore, but used to describe animals like elephants, or I think it was like hippos, because it used to be the way that they used to classify animals, like a pachyderm. It's also a regular noun, so if you describe someone as a pachyderm, you're saying they're thick-skinned or insensitive.
Wow, that's very deep for a children's game. Especially
Yep.
like a Yoshi story game.
Yeah, no, like, I saw it and I was like, this is just... Did someone just mash their hand on a keyboard?
Or literally like just search it and then like just search, oh, elephants. Oh, I know this. Yeah, let's just make that their name.
And then, bad guy-wise, you had obviously the Shy Guys in quite a lot of numbers. And do you remember the Bone Dragons?
Yeah, they used to come out of the lava.
No, there was different dragons that came out of the lava. These ones you could find in like the second level, second world.
Okay.
Anyway, so you had those, and yeah, quite a lot of the characters in this have quite strange names, like more so than usual. But yeah, it's your usual cast of
weird and
characters
wonderful.
enemies. Yeah. So across these, you're thinking the Blarg.
Obviously, the blarg.
The Blarg. This game had so it was 6 worlds, and it was kind of strange in a way because you only did one level in each world and then you moved on. There's more character stuff, but I think this gives context. I'm gonna skip ahead a bit in my notes and then loop back. And then in the first world you had access to all 4 potential levels, and then in the worlds that followed you had to find the big hearts, the super hearts.
Yep.
And you could find up to 3 of those in a level, and that opened up your other paths, because otherwise you could only go to number 1 in each world. But anyway, at the end of the 3rd world, there was a mini-boss, and the mini-boss was different in each of these 4 levels. Do you remember any of the mini-bosses?
I want to say they were like Bowser's siblings, or wasn't one of them like the witch on the broom?
Nowhere near, but I like the enthusiasm.
What?
So you had Cloud and Candy,
Okay.
which was a giant candy cloud that you defeated by eating it.
I don't remember that. No.
You had Inviso, which was an invisible ghost.
Obviously.
You had Cloud Djinn, which was a genie ghost.
I don't remember any of these bosses.
And Don Bongo, which was just
Mafia?
a fat lizard.
Oh.
And those 3 were all defeated by eggs to the weak point.
Hmm.
I remembered the first 3. I did not remember Don Bongo, because that looks... and it just kind of looks like somebody has just drawn a weird Mario character, like an off-brand one.
Mario if he had joined the Mafia sort of thing.
No, it just kind of looks like a fat, pouty lizard.
How random. I think I remember the levels better. Like, when you were saying about the dog, I remembered, like, there were certain ways, like, paths that you could take. And I definitely remember those really annoying elephants. And wasn't there, like, a world that was all in the trees?
Yeah, so, talking about... so the worlds, there were 6 pages, and the 6 had themes to them. So you're quite right in that the page 4, the theme was jungle.
Yeah, I remember that one.
So it varies a little bit on the regular Mario formula. Page 1 was titled Beginning.
Okay.
Page 2 was Cavern, which is where you got the bone dragons and the lava.
Yeah.
Page 3 was Summit.
Summit? Oh, mountains.
Yeah. Although one of the levels, the tall tower, if you remember, was like the springs.
Yeah, I remember that.
Page 4 was jungle. Page 5 was ocean. So I think most of those were water levels.
Don't remember that. Not a big fan of water levels, as you know.
And page 6 was finale, which was...
Makes sense. The
4
castle.
different types of castle.
Yeah.
And then within that, you had the 4 options of every world. So it's quite interesting that you could do a run in only 6 levels, but to see everything, you'd have to do at least 4 runs.
Because of all the different ways that you could, end.
So just to kind of, I guess, wrap up on characters, obviously you've got Baby Bowser, last of all, who has stolen the Super Happy Tree, and he is the final boss. And if you recall, you defeat him because there's spikes at the top of the arena, and you have to knock off the spikes and they fall on his head.
The storyline kind of reminds me of that film Trolls. Because they eat the trolls eat the goblins eat the trolls to get them happy or something. Feels very much the similar sort of, we're bad, we want to be happy. Oh, they're happy because they have this. Let's take it or eat it or whatever.
I've not seen that film. You're saying that the bad guys eat the trolls?
Yeah.
Ah, sounds pretty dark.
Yeah. But, yeah. Anyway.
So in this game there are three modes. You've got story mode, where you work your way through each page of the book. You've got trial mode, where you can replay any previously completed level to try for a high score. And practice mode, which is just a very simple level with just allows you to practice the mechanics. The way you progress, and the reason why it's necessary to have things such as the warps that can take you earlier in the level, is that the aim of each level is to eat 30 fruit. And then you move on to the next one, and it's just you get more points if you eat the same fruit in succession.
Oh yeah, it used to go round the side of the screen, didn't it?
Yeah, and that would show you how far you were through the level, how much you'd progressed through the level. Melons were the most, so it was like special if you got all melons. And actually, if you got 6 in a row of any fruit, I think you got given like an invincibility heart.
Yeah, which was quite a nice little, outcome. I mean, there was a progress towards you eating all of that fruit, and, of course, Yoshi, that's their main thing, isn't it, is eating and pooping eggs.
So you've got melons. Here's the next question for you. What were the other fruit in the game?
Apple.
Mm-hmm.
Grapes.
Mm-hmm.
Banana.
Mm-hmm. One more. Think of what you didn't get earlier. It was a small variation and one that's already come up.
I like green apples.
No, think of the one that I said to start us off.
Watermelon.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
There were also peppers, if you remember, but Yoshi's didn't like eating peppers.
No, they used to be like... Rah, rah.
The white and black Yoshis did like peppers.
Because they're weirdos. Yeah.
Yeah. So the game, in terms of design then, you've got these... a lot of it is going for high scores and stuff like that. From the actual character designs itself, this game is notable, and to some seen as slightly infamous, because it's the first game where Yoshi is presented in his modern day design of being more anthropomorphic. So before that, so more, I don't want to say humanoid, but he stands
He's
more
got
upright,
character.
more upright.
Oh, okay.
Digits, because in Super Mario World and Yoshi's Island, he's kind of hunched over and he's got like almost a saddle on his back, which he still has, but he's more, he's more like not like a horse because he's a dinosaur, but you know what I mean.
No, a bit more character to him, a bit more uprightness.
Yeah, and also he's just a bit more cutesy.
Well, I've got to admit, thinking back on this game, the design of it was personally very unique. Like, the design was very cute, and very, of course, it was a storybook, but the design was also very kind of like, when you think of the Yoshi game, the Yoshi story game, it's a very unique style of game. It didn't look like any other game, not just because it was 2D.
And the environments look like they're made out of cardboard, which is something that they still do in like Yoshi games now, is they make it look like it's made out of material.
Well, I've never played it, but of course Yoshi's Woolly World, it feels like this was an early version of that, because they made it all feel a bit more like cardboardy, as you said, whereas of course they've developed that now to make it feel more woolly.
And
It's,
then, the most recent one is Yoshi's Crafted World, which is like a mix of the two, really. You've got, it is like Yoshi's running around and there's stuff made of cardboard and, like, different, like, household stuff.
Okay.
So it's quite interesting how this game, compared to Yoshi's Island, which obviously in its design was, like, crayon aesthetic. Do you know the story behind that, actually?
No.
So with making the sequel to Super Mario World, they're going to make it around Yoshi. The higher-ups at Nintendo went to Shigeru Miyamoto and said, there's this game that's just come out called Donkey Kong Country that uses these mind-blowing 3D graphics, like this rendered 3D style that looks really cutting edge. We want you to do that for your upcoming game. And he said no to such an extent, he wanted Yoshi's Island to look like it was all drawn with crayons.
That's one way to make your point.
To be fair, though, I think Yoshi's Island is a very beautiful, a very pretty game.
Oh, yeah.
Donkey Kong Country is very impressive in its design as well. But I don't think a 3D rendered Yoshi, like how Donkey Kong is in those games, would have suited at all.
No, and just because, as we said earlier, just because everyone else was doing it doesn't mean that they had to do it. And by doing it their way, they made it a lot more iconic game. So, yeah.
So do you, just still talking about design, I'm not sure why I put this under design, it's for kind of gameplay, but do you remember the turbo tulips?
Yes, I think so.
The ones where you ate them and it turned you into an egg and then you could just ping yourself into the sky.
No. No, I was thinking of something else.
So you ate them and then it had that music where it was like, it's like the timer, and you could like, you would go down and then release on the analog stick and it just kind of ping you into the sky. Oh, that was a fun bit of the game.
I think
Very, very, very strange though.
Yeah, sounds it. But I think I remember a little bit. It has been a while since I played these games. Although doing this has made me want to play every single one on our list again.
And then kind of going along the design theme, the sound effects were designed by Hajime Wakai, and the voice of Yoshi in this was recorded, so it's the first time that it was, I guess, voice acted, and this was recorded by the game's composer, Kazumi Totaka, and actually these sound files have been the files that have been used in a lot of games since. They were reused very shortly afterwards in Super Smash Bros, and that's kind of become Yoshi's voice.
Sound.
Because before then he had his little, like, cry, his little sound effect from Mario World that had been used. This is the first one where he kind of has his, Yoshi, kind of.
Yoshi.
Yeah.
So, I've got to admit, since we've been talking about Yoshi's story, the main bit I can remember out of all of it, my favourite bit was actually the very end, when the Yoshis were all singing and going, da, 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 da. Do you remember? Yeah. And they're all like, and they were so cute. And I do remember liking the soundtrack because it kind of just fitted the style of the game. If you'd had that sort of soundtrack on the Donkey Kong or even in the Mario, it just wouldn't have fitted as well because Yoshi's story was cute, so it could pull off more cutie soundtrack. But I just remember that kind of bit at the end, and they're all just, there's a giant heart or a giant whatever, and it's just like, and you're just like, yay.
Yeah. Well, actually,
it made you feel happy.
You say that. Going on, there wasn't actually much pre-release, stuff left on the cutting room floor for this game. We've already covered a bit of it with the different coloured Yoshis. However, one of the quirks I found was that the CD of this game was released as a promotion, with the tagline on the CD of "Music to Pound the Ground to."
Oh dear.
And I wonder how many people crossed out the ground on it.
Music to pound to. Oh dear. How to make a cute game naughty.
But it was actually, the CD of the game was reissued twice more over the years, and the third time had the tagline of peace, love, and happiness.
I can definitely see that.
Make eggs, not war.
Pound time. Oh dear. Make love, not war, eh?
Pound the ground, not war. Wait, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, there wasn't too much. There was a bit of backgrounds changed here and there, and a bit of redesigns. One of the things I found was that the bone dragon enemy used to be like a regular dragon with like purple skin.
Okay.
But they changed it to be like a bone dragon, I guess. I'm not sure, but I suppose that kind of fits the theme of where it gets placed in the game more.
Fits the theme of pound time. No. Yeah, I suppose it makes it a bit more scary, doesn't it? A bit more of a spooky enemy if it's more like skeleton.
And then the only other, like, really wasn't many quirks. I mean, a lot of them have come up just by us talking about the game.
Yeah, which is
in general. But this one, I was just looking up information. I found on Nintendo.co.uk. It's a page because this got a Wii U re-release. And the first line of its description on the Wii U re-release page it says, from the brilliant mind of Super Mario 64 creator Shigeru Miyamoto. I'd like to point out at this point that Shigeru Miyamoto was only a supervising producer on this game. He was working on Star Fox 64 and 1080 Snowboarding at the time.
Lame.
So this seems like a very strange marketing line.
Yeah.
Because it's not like nowadays people have heard of Kazuki Kono. You know, he does the Mario Kart games, so... But I think Shigeru Miyamoto is still like the name you put on the box.
Well, let's be honest. I think that's probably the name I know the most, but purely for my love of Legend of Zelda.
So anyway, the game was released following its reviews in Japan that called it too easy. The difficulty was actually increased for its overseas release.
Okay.
And this also came with just a few quality of life improvements and some graphical touch-ups. Like, for example, I think in the Japanese version, all the eggs that you got from egg boxes were green.
Okay.
And this changed it so it varied on what colour of Yoshi you were. And just other like secrets were added and things like that.
I've got to admit, I never really thought of it as a hard game, so it must have been kind of super easy.
Yeah,
before.
no, I'm wondering whether in the Japanese version you can just kind of hold right to win, you know, just walk through the stage, but you obviously have to eat 30 fruit as well. But it definitely wasn't a difficult game.
No.
So the game sold 2.85 million copies worldwide, which is
not
not bad really when you think
No.
about it. It's got a bit of an interesting release story behind it. So it was intended to release in North America for Christmas 97, but it was delayed until March 98. And then it was hyped up a lot. So Nintendo did a lot of marketing. They had TV ads. They sent out mailers to people. And they just, you know, they did a lot of... They hyped it up a little bit. And also at the same time, they were reassuring people that there were going to be enough copies because GoldenEye 64 had just come out and there had not been enough to meet demand. Mm-hmm. They still did not release enough to meet demand.
So just double fail. Fool me once, shame on you.
So a Financial Times article stated later that it's delayed release and then an adequate supply, and also there'd been quite a lot of distribution errors with the game, had meant that it actually done pretty poorly. And actually within a month the game was being discounted by more than 50%.
Oh.
But it still managed to sell quite well, and it still ended up on their, like, you know, the player's choice list of like the games that get the special box and the re-release.
That's good. So the actual gameplay kind of saved it rather than the mess up with the release dates and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, it seems like quite an ironic story of like, you're definitely going to have enough copies. Yes. Shit.
You know when we said we would? Yeah, we lied.
We're going to have enough copies, and we're so confident that we're going to do this massive marketing push. Oh no, we don't have enough copies.
And you know that guy that we put in the marketing push? He's not, you know, he's kind of busy at the moment, but you know.
the game received mixed reviews. Still, obviously, reviews said it was too easy. They thought it was too cutesy. They didn't like. Again, there's a few complaints about the design of Yoshi being like more cute, and the whole game was generally more cutesy than Yoshi's Island. It was also a lot less challenging.
Well,
and
then
actually,
I would argue these days that the Kirby franchise has gone that way, because I'd say Kirby's a lot more like too cute these days.
I think the Kirby games, by comparison, though, have always been quite difficult,
Oh, okay.
or at least more difficult than the Yoshi games. And also, you can see some of the complaints having merit, though, because the original Yoshi's Island had 55 levels to it, whereas if you count out, 6 worlds of 4 each, that's only 24 in Yoshi's Story.
So
So
lot less.
content-wise, it did have a lot less than Yoshi's Island did. So I do understand there were some valid complaints.
Yeah.
There was a... did you know that this game was used... I'm sounding like the Did You Know Gaming channel now. This game was one of the tech demos on the Game Boy Advance.
Really?
So when they were showing off the system to developers, there was a demo where it was... it looked just like Yoshi's Story. It used the same graphics and things. And you could you could play Yoshi, and it was to show off the graphical capabilities of the Game Boy Advance.
That's pretty cool.
The only difference was that this had some large Shy Guys in it, which weren't in Yoshi's Story, but that was so they could show that the Game Boy Advance could have larger sprites.
Okay.
And then they don't. Whilst they were Yoshi games that got released for the Game Boy Advance, they don't think that this tech demo in particular ever came to anything.
No. Well, I suppose, yeah, most tech demos don't they just want to show off what it can do?
So yeah, this is Yoshi's Story. I remember this game as being a game I played when I was really, really little, and I thought it was really fun for the time. It's still a game that brings me back some fond memories. This is definitely one where you could argue the nostalgia glasses are quite thick. And to be honest, I think we could probably blow through it in an afternoon now.
Yeah. I mean, compared to the games that we play now, or since becoming, more grown up than we were, the challenge level is probably super low. I can't believe that it was even easier before it was released to North America and Europe.
And also, when I think of the Yoshi games, I think of the Yoshi's Island and Yoshi's Island DS will be ones that I replay more often than this.
But it doesn't make it a bad game. As you said, we've got very fond memories of it. It might be quite cutesy and quite a simple storyline, but the mechanics made it more memorable than trying to do what everyone else was doing. And I'm really glad they didn't try to do the 3D on the N64's capability.
Yeah, no, I don't think Yoshi suits 3D. It works alright in Super Mario 64 DS.
Yeah. But for him to be a main character is a bit meh.
So I have lots of fond memories of this game. I like the worlds. There was a world in the jungle one which had jungle huts, and it had bees.
Yep.
That would stop your way. I thought that was always quite fun.
That's one I remember the most. Apart from the first level, which you're just walking down a path basically.
Yeah, kind of the kind of average first world plains level. Yeah, no, I remember this game as being one that I played a lot, and to be honest, I remember going back and trying to get the high scores and trial mode and stuff like that. So, yeah, good game. Anything you wanna add about Yoshi's Story?
No, I think you've covered it all. So this has been Yoshi's Story.
Yeah, so this is we've talked about Yoshi's Story. What were your memories of Yoshi's Story? You listening at home, let us know in the comments. If you like this video, obviously give it a like. Subscribe if you want to see more in the future. We work on this show. Comment if you want updates of various things during the week and in the off season. Follow us on Twitter at abridgedbk. Next week is actually the season finale for season 2 of Big Nostalgia, where we will be talking about The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask.
Woo!
Which is an episode I'm very much looking forward to
awesome.
Recording, because I love that game. Well, I love all these games. Apart from 1080 snowboarding.
Man, give it a break.
It knows what it did.
I've been Victor.
I've been haddowinc. We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bien.
Do 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 do.
Bien.
Do 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 do.
BNN.
Do 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 do.
Big nostalgia.
Yeah.